that time. Time for a new Cannibal Corpse album. Some people call them death metal comfort food, but I think they are more than that. To me, Cannibal Corpse are the Iron Maiden of death metal. They didn't stray far from their sound, they didn't flirt with trendy elements to try and appeal to more people, just pure death metal for pushing 40 years now. And I personally don't think their discography has any weak points, but the last album, Violence Unimagined from 2021, was particularly strong. Maybe more so than the previous few albums, which were also really good. And the 2-year turnaround was kind of short, but certainly not unheard of, especially for a professional and well-oiled death machine like Cannibal Corpse. And though they have never been a band with a high turnover rate, we had Eric Rutan replace Pat O'Brien to play alongside Rob Barrett. I mean, sure, Eric played on Violence Unimagined, but now that he's been in the band for a few years, I wanted to see if he would bring anything new to the table. And I say that because he is one hell of a secret weapon. He's a great guitar player and songwriter, and if you aren't too familiar with him, you really should check out his work in Ripping Corpse, Morbid Angel, and his kind of main band, Hate Eternal. So, Chaos Horrific was released September 23rd via Metal Blade Records. And let's get to the album already, huh? It was produced at Eric Rutan's Mana recording studio in Florida and has 10 tracks clocking in at just over 39 minutes. Nice and concise, doesn't overstay its welcome. So, track 1, Overlords of Violence, starts off with Alex Webster's signature bass sound before lurching into a speedy onslaught, with the man himself, Corpse Grinder's vocals, coming in at the 12-second mark. This song doesn't waste much time before going for the throat. The riff at the 1 minute 24-second mark sounds like an Eric Rutan riff to me, but I could be wrong. It's a little more angular than something Rob Barrett would typically write. Actually, I was wrong. I just pulled the booklet out and Alex Webster wrote this song, but he may have written it with Eric in mind. There are 4 guitar solos on this song, 2 from Rob and 2 from Eric. And if you're familiar with Eric's style, you can definitely notice who is playing what. All 4 solos come at you back to back at the 1 minute 50-second mark, and it's just awesome. Track 2, Frenzied Feeding, was written entirely by Rutan, and he even does some backing vocals later on in the song. And I have to remember that he is writing for Cannibal Corpse, not Hate Eternal, so I shouldn't expect something vastly different, but he definitely brings his style, with his kind of trademark guitar solos. And I'm really digging the kind of slower, more atmospheric part near the middle of the song before kicking back into high speed with the signature Eric Rutan guitar solo, and hearing his vocals alongside George's was really, really cool. Track 3, Summoned for Sacrifice, has Rob Barrett writing the music, and it starts off with an angular riff at a kind of a chunky mid-pace before going into a chuggy mosh-type riff, and I'm really loving the slower pace, but it doesn't last too long before going into speedier territory. I have no complaints, don't get me wrong, but I actually like when Cannibal Corpse plays at a slower speed. They don't do it super often, but when they do, it's super heavy and really cool sounding. I'd actually really love to hear them play more songs, kind of like Scourge of Iron from their 2012 album Torture. And track 4, Bloodblind, is another Eric-written song and starts off in kind of mid-paced and sludgy, actually reminding me of the Domination album from Morbid Angel, which Eric played on. Now, this is what I wanted him to bring to Cannibal Corpse. The chuggy riffs with Paul's kind of slow double bass just hits the spot. Paul sounds great, by the way. He's a drummer that doesn't get much credit, but he's killing it here. Track 5, Vengeful Invasion, starts with these cool angular riffs, and man, I know people are going to say that this album is just more of the same from Cannibal Corpse, but I disagree. This album has a lot of character, and in fact, they all do, at least, to me. This song was written by Rob, and it shows. It's got a little of everything, but a whole lot of groove. Track 6, Chaos Horrific, the title track, was written by Alex in his kind of old school style, thrashy kind of style. It only has 1 guitar solo, but he gave it to Eric, and I'll say it again, I'm loving hearing his guitar work on this album. Track 7, Fracture and Refracture, is another Alex-written song, and it starts off very fast before slowing down to a still pretty fast-paced groove, which seems to be his writing style here. Groovy, sometimes thrashy, and a little on the simple side and to the point. Track 8, Pitchfork Impalement, is another Rob Barrett song, full of his churning, brutal riffs, and the guitar interplay between him and Eric is really, really cool. Track 9, Pestilential Rictus, definitely gets the Best Song title award. This is another Alex song. Again, he gives the soul guitar solo to Eric. Track 10, Drain You Empty, is the longest song at 4 minutes and 36 seconds, written by Eric this time, and is the album closer. It has a kind of creepy, atmospheric, doomy sound for the first minute before picking up speed. Very cool. I'm a fan of dynamics like that, and I'm glad Eric brings some new elements to the table. The slowed down primal stomp at the tail end with the atmospheric guitar chords in the background was really, really cool. Topped off with Eric's solo. This was a great way to end the album, and overall one of my favorite songs on the album. So, based on a few listens and the fact that the album just came out 2 days ago, you'll have to take my review with a grain of salt. However, I do like the album. As much as Violence Unimagined, that I'm not sure of, but I do like it. For a score, I'm going to give Chaos Horrific a 7.5 out of 10. It does some new things when it's not fairly straightforward, and I like Eric Rutan's contributions.